The stock has grown in the last year from a $7 billion company to now a $44 billion company. 44 billion.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's what Elon bought X for. This guy selling Labubus.
It's insane. It's crazy.
I feel like I can rule the world. I know I could be what I want to. I put my all in it like no days off. On the road, let's travel, never looking
Dude,
back.
Sam, do you know what one of these are?
Oh my gosh. Ramon will not quit talking to me about these things. Okay, so those, all right, so for the listener, Shaan's showing me.
What am I holding up?
They look like dolls, basically in the same vein as a troll. But I have gotten texts from our friend Ramon, who says, have you heard of this thing? It's worth, and he says the number, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it must have been a typo. So what's the deal with these things?
Do you know what they're called?
Super something?
No, this is a Labubu. All right, Sam,
Labubu,
get yourself educated. This is a Labubu doll, okay?
Does it have a Prada sign on it?
Yeah, that's part of the shtick here. Okay, so what's the story with these things? This is basically the most viral toy in the world.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest crazes since, Beanie Babies and things like that. And so the story behind this thing is pretty crazy. I just wanted to tell you some of the things that I know about it. Of course, my wife put me onto this months ago, and I just ignored it as the stock of this company is up like 7x in a year because this thing is going crazy.
Chinese company, right?
Chinese company, yeah. So this is made by these dolls are produced by a Chinese company called Pomp. And the maker of it, this guy Wang Ning, he is now the 10th richest man in China. What? And he's adding like $1 billion to his net worth in the last, few
But he's
months.
like 30, right? Or like he's
really young. Like, dude, look at this picture of him.
Yeah, but Chinese guys always look really young until they don't.
Until they don't.
Yeah, haven't you ever heard like all of my Asian friends? They're like, we always look young and then we fall off a cliff.
All right. Can you see this guy?
Yeah. I mean, he could be 12 or 50. I don't know.
Yeah. So this guy is behind this company, Popmart. But it's kind of fascinating what's going on with this craze, right? Like it's really taken over. So somebody gave these to my kids as like a gift, and I didn't really understand the significance of it. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. I didn't realize that we were just gifted like a really important thing. This is like one of the more valuable items in my house right now. Like these things sell for thousands of dollars. The top ones can sell for six figures. That's how crazy the craze is for this.
Okay, so tell me the story, because this sounds like a good stock to short, because that's typically how these like collectibles kind of
We'll get
to go,
to that.
right?
Yes, I agree with you. We'll get to that. All right. So the story of the Labubu dolls is there's a guy who's an artist around 2015. He's in the Netherlands. He gets inspired to create like a kind of like a toy world, so like a character world based on where he's at in the Netherlands, and he designs these dolls. These kind of like look at their teeth, like the little like gremlin looking doll.
Yeah,
and
like scary
Sam,
a little bit.
There's hope for us, okay? Because the experts are describing this as ugly cute, and it's succeeded because it's ugly cute. And I just thought like our podcast, I just feel like that just gave us like some wind in our sails for what we could do as well on YouTube.
It's worse for us because we're not particularly ugly, but we're not particularly good looking. Is there like a cute?
What the kids call mid.
Yeah.
All right. So he creates these in 2015. Not a lot happens from there, but in 2019, so 4 years later, he partners with this company, Popmart. And Popmart was started about a decade ago because this guy, Wang Ning, had this insight, which is he thought that this kidult trend, we've talked about this before because you're into Legos. So he's like, this kidult trend, this like kids' toys for adults
like
is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And so he creates this store, and the store really takes advantage of this like style, this business mechanic called blind boxes, which I don't know if you've seen LOL dolls or mini brands where you buy the box, but you don't know what's inside. Similar to like Pokemon card packs. You buy the pack, you don't know what cards are inside. And so this mechanic, which I think they call like the gotcha mechanic, creates a lot more spending, right? People will keep buying because it's a little bit like a treasure hunt. And you want to see what you can find, what you can get. Will you get the big rare prize?
And this used to be a scam. Like I remember Logan Paul or Jake Paul was sponsored or did business with a company called Mystery Box. And that was like a rage, like a very trendy thing for like 3 months. Do you remember that? Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, like these loot boxes are in games. And people know that, okay, this is kind of, it's not a scam per se, but it's basically manipulative, right? It gets people to buy a lot more. People get addicted to this thing. And especially when you're targeting kids, which is why Logan Paul and those guys got in trouble, was, hey, this is targeting kids. The beauty of this is it's not targeting kids. So the way these blew up is through celebrities.
Wait, can I ask a question about the company Pop Mark? So he had Pop Mart. He had just it was a toy company for a long time, or what was the origin?
So the story is 2010. He opens up a small designer store in Beijing, and he's trying to build it off this kidult collectibles brand. He starts selling blind boxes. This Labubu is not in play at this point. There's other blind boxes that he's trying to sell. And in 10 years, they grow from one store to 300 plus stores, 2,000 vending machines where you could just it's just you just buy one of these boxes right out of a machine. It ends up going public in 2020. Stock doubles on the first day. The stock has grown in the last year from a $7 billion company to now a $44 billion company. $44 billion.
That's
insane. What I mean? That's what Elon bought X for.
So that's so insane. Before it became, when it was just a 4 or 7, I think you said $1 billion company, they just sold like dolls that people liked, and which a $7 billion toy company is that's already a mega success. So they sold other people's stuff.
That was over 4 years, but they're selling collectibles of different brands, different IP, and this is one of the IP that they have. And this doll alone, like these Labubus, did like 700 million last year. So they're like now like almost it's getting close to about half of the revenue of the company overall because the trend has exploded.
And then they connect with this artist, and so that brings us to where we are now.
Yeah. So the question is, how did this explode? The thing that fascinated me is like, where does a trend like this even come from? How does this happen? Because it's totally irrational, right? Like, why this doll? Why not another doll? Is it the teeth? Is it the outfit? Is it what is it behind it? So there's some, I guess, learnings to have from this about like the psychology of a winning product. So just want to tell you a little story about how this happens. So check this out. Exhibit A, 2023.
Okay, Rihanna. So this is a photo that you clearly can tell it's just Rihanna like getting coffee or leaving a hotel.
She's going to an airport. Yeah.
And she just looks like it's not sponsored. She's just being a lady, and she has one of the toy bebops or boo-boos or whatever they're called hanging off of her book bag.
Book bag?
Is that what it is?
A purse. It's a Louis Vuitton purse.
Okay, it looks like a book. I'm looking from far away. It looks like a book bag.
Okay, so she's spotted with it. Interesting. At the same time, another trend is happening in Thailand. In Thailand, people are starting to see these Labubus, for whatever reason, as possible good luck charms. And in Thailand, people are quite religious, and they started to view these as like almost like a spiritual, like a little guardian that they could have with them. And so that rumor starts to spread. And then what happens is, do you know the band Blackpink? Have you ever heard of this band?
No.
It's like a Korean pop band. Basically, it's like one of the most popular pop bands in the world. So it's a girl band, like Spice Girls.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, I like those guys. I see their music videos. They're very eye-catching. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, it's just like it's a sensation. You'll go on YouTube and you're like, what is this thing with 1 billion views on YouTube? It's sort of like the sensation of like the BTS thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is right here. Now we're talking about Blackpink. So Lisa from Blackpink goes to Thailand to visit her friend. Her friend says, hey, what do you want to do today? They decide, let's go shopping. She thinks, okay, we're going to go shopping. Clothes, bags, what are we going to go buy? But no, she wants to go to Pop Mart. And she says, I don't know what Pop Mart is, but they go to a Pop Mart store. At the Pop Mart store, the friend really wants a Labubu. And Lisa says, honestly, not into it. I don't get it. Don't care about it, blah, blah, blah. But the friend gets super disappointed because they're all sold out. And the lady at the store is like, listen, it's impossible. You're not going to get one. And that little mimetic monster inside Lisa starts to roar, the one in her stomach. And she's like, you know what? If I can't have it, I must have it. And she decides, actually, I think I do like Labubus. And I think I do want to go get Labubus. And she starts to collect these. Now, she starts getting obsessed with Pop Mart. She goes, she buys blind boxes, and she starts collecting these. This becomes her de-stress type of thing she does from the stressful life of being a world famous pop star.
Yeah.
Now, she gets caught having a Labubu. Why? Because she posts it on her Instagram. So now we're fast forward 2024. This is the photo that created the craze. It went from just like, you know how a hurricane starts and there's like some sweeping winds, maybe a casual storm, a casual rainstorm. And then comes the hurricane. And this Instagram story started the hurricane. And it's her hugging her Labubu.
Can I say something? I kind of get it. That looks pretty cool. It looks
what
pretty.
did it for you too, this photo?
Yeah, it's like an old white guy in overalls. It's kind of what it looks like. It looks like a farmer.
Yeah, this does look like a Midwest farmer, actually.
This I kind of like. And it's big. It's about 2 feet tall. I kind of think that's neat. I understand.
This is a big one,
like,
yeah. So they come in different sizes. The one that sold for over 100,000, that was like a human-sized one.
Okay.
So this is the stock since that photo was taken. And you can see the stock is up 7x since then as it's just been crushing. And so the Labubu craze starts. And what's interesting about this is why, so celebrities started posting about it. That's it. Okay, I get that. But what else? So here's some of the other things that I found kind of interesting from a behavioral psychology point of view. The first is the lipstick effect. Have you ever heard of the lipstick effect?
I don't think so.
So there's an economic theory that basically says that whenever people are under financial pressure, so maybe the economy is a little bit choppy, maybe there's there's inflation, there's wage pressure, whatever it is, people think that you'll stop spending. But what actually happens is you shift the spending. And so instead of buying a new bag, you'll just buy some lipstick. You'll buy a new lipstick. And so lipstick sales will explode at a time during economic pressure because you take away from bigger luxury purchases and they go into smaller luxury purchases. So instead of a $200 outfit or bag, you're going to buy a $20 item instead. And so people think that this is part of what's behind Labubu, which is that this thing, initially started where these are like, a $20, $25 box that you buy and you get a Labubu. But the thing with these, the smart thing of these is I showed you the doll. This is the most important part, this little ring, because most stuffed animals, you just keep them at home. So there's no virality to it, right? You just have it at the comfort of your own home. Nobody sees it. You don't get to show it off. It's not a status symbol. By just having the bag clip attached to these things, they suddenly became like luxury accessories. And so that's why Rihanna had it attached to her bag, and this Blackpink lady had hers. And then David Beckham is posting that, and Kim Kardashian posts that she has 10 of them, and she starts clipping them to her bags. It becomes this add-on to your luxury bag, this cute little add-on that you could put on your bag. And then each one of these has an outfit. So I can take this off, and I can buy new clothes for this, and I can upgrade my Labubu. So now you have all...
Can you spell Labubu?
Labubu.
Oh, okay, I see.
By the way, Labubu is actually only one of the characters, but that's just what it became called. The characters are actually called the Monsters, but that didn't stick.
Oh my gosh, I'm on their website. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in.
and so what I think is interesting here is that you have this kind of what Charlie Munger calls the lalapalooza effect. So maybe you have the lipstick effect causing people to look for little luxuries. Then you have the kidult effect where you have adults looking for, maybe comfort and pleasure because that's another economic theory here, which is that when adults face stress from work and global events like wars and whatnot, they find emotional relief in collecting toys and things that connect with their childhood. So you have that effect kicking in. You have the lipstick effect kicking in. You have the status symbol effect of this, where you can attach this to your bag. You have the ugly cute effect, which we're just crushing with right now. And so all these come together to create the phenomenon that is Labubu.
Great job. Good find. I've been hearing about this, but I didn't exactly dive deep. So that's cool that you did this. This is not sustainable, and this is definitely going to go away in the next 5 years. But let's get it while the getting's good. All right, so I've built a few companies that have made a few $1 million a year, and I've built 2 companies that have made tens of millions of dollars a year. And so I have a little bit of experience launching, building, creating new things. And I actually don't come up with a lot of original ideas. Instead, what I'm really, really good at, what my skill set is researching different ideas, different gaps in the market, and reverse engineering companies. And I didn't invent this, by the way. We had this guy, Brad Jacobs. We talked about him on the podcast. He started like 4 or 5 different publicly traded companies worth tens of billions of dollars each. He actually is the one who I learned how to do this from. And so with the team at HubSpot, we put together all of my research tactics, frameworks, techniques on spotting different opportunities in the market, reverse engineering companies, and figuring out exactly where opportunities are versus just coming up with a random silly idea and throwing it against the wall and hoping that it sticks. And so if you want to see my framework, you can check it out. The link is below in the YouTube description.
So I started thinking, how do I make money on this? All right. So the first way I should have made money on this was when my wife started telling me about this, which was, I don't know, 6 to 8 months ago. I should have either bought the stock. I should have looked. I didn't even think it was going to be a stock. I just thought it was like a stuffed animal. I didn't even think it was a public company. Should have bought the stock, or, you know, you could have tried to collect and flip. Okay, that's too much effort. So what's the play here? So I went and looked up. I asked AI. I said, tell me the last 5 toy crazes as crazy as Labubu over the last 50 years and compare them.
What were some of the other ones? So it would have been Cabbage
Patch was the first one that it came up with.
Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies was the second.
I think Trolls were popular for a minute, but I don't know if they were a craze.
Then it gave me Pokemon cards, which had two bumps. There was the one when we were kids where buying and collecting packs reached about the same revenue, about $2 billion a year. And then it died down for about 20 years. And then recently, when like kind of Logan Paul started collecting them again,
the video game,
another peak, and it had 1.6 billion in its sales on the cards recently. So, Pokemon, and then the last one it gave me, which was I thought kind of interesting as AI, but actually is a good point because I was thinking maybe Furbies or Tamagotchis. I didn't know what it was going to give me. Those were smaller. It gave me Stanley Cups, which actually makes total sense because it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. And so it gave me those. And the funny thing about these is on the scale, Labubu is actually still small. So this doll did about 700 million. Those all at their peak were kind of like 1.6 to $2 billion in sales. So I actually expect that over the next year, this thing goes even, the star kind of goes viral nova. It burns out and it hits a 2 billion or 3 billion in revenue. And then it's going to crash. Because the funny thing with all of these is they all had about a 2 to 3 year peak tops. And so I think the actual play, if you want to make money on this thing, is to short Pop Mart stock starting around, end of 2026 and, maybe through 2027. Now, shorting is dangerous because you can lose your shirt because shorting has sort of asymmetric downside. But I think if you were a betting man, the odds are that, by 2027, this thing is not a $44 billion company anymore.
What was the name? Okay, so you had a friend, Michael Acton Smith. He had the guy who created Calm.com, before he created Calm.com, the meditation app, he actually had a stuffed animal toy company called like Minnow Monsters or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. What was the name of their thing? And so his company was called Mind Candy, and it was Moshi Monsters was the thing. Minnow Monsters was a mobile game. Moshi Monsters was his.
If I remember correctly, this is all 15 years ago, so it's harder to remember everything, but he raised lots of money as a technology company almost, or at least from tech VCs. And he was like, I'm going to build a massive toy business. And I remember reading at the time, this is insane. You're stupid. But now that I think about it, there's been many examples of where that is not stupid. And this is yet another one of them, where you could actually build a really cool IP toy company. And sounds like he was on the right track. It didn't work out.
He was, dude. It was big in the UK. So in the UK, it was like, I don't know, 1 out of every 3 kids is playing Moshi Monsters. It was like insane. It was like 90 million users globally. And I remember meeting him, I think it was still during the kind of like the tail end of the peak. So it was big, but it had stopped exploding. And he was like, that's okay. We're going to like try to turn this into a thing. And he was telling me they're making Moshi shampoo and body wash. And, it's going into every category. But unfortunately, that one didn't work out. We have to get Michael on, by the way.
I was going to say that. We have to get Michael in the pod because...
Have you met him? He is one of the coolest guys I've met. He's such a nice guy, first of all. Like, total, genuine, good dude. Super creative. Really creative genius. And then also, like, a rock star, kind of. Like, when you meet him, you're like, oh, I'm talking to Russell Brand's, like, cooler brother.
Everyone should Google him. His name's Michael Acton Smith. And I remember back in 14 or 13 or 12 where, I'm still interested in this, but I was like, I want to be like I was like looking for a person I wanted to be like, and it was like him.
He would be one.
because
Yeah.
there was like photos of him like holding hands with like Paris Hilton, or like he was like if you Google like Michael Acton Smith, like he
But they're
was
not
like,
even dating. That's the best part. Just holding hands.
he was like he
cooler.
had like paparazzi photos of him because he would have this like tech angle, even though he wasn't exactly in tech. But if you guys Google him and see what he looks like, you'll understand. He looks
the
like
Daily Telegraph described him as a rock star version of Willy Wonka. That's his Wikipedia page.
It's great. This guy was so cool. And now he has since started Calm, which I have no idea how big it is, but it's hundreds of millions or billions.
A multi-billion dollar company. Yeah.
He's the man. This guy's absolutely the man. And he's been the man for 20 years.
He has. He's amazing. Okay, I'm going to call him after this and be like, I will fly to you. Let's do an episode because...
Where's he even live now?
I think he was in the UK. He was kind of back and forth between like, US and UK. I think he's in the UK now.
He's just like a rich guy now? He just like does what he wants?
Well, I don't know. I think he always did what he wants. That's why he was our hero.
That's the difference between...
I don't think it had anything to do with being rich.
That's the difference between guys like me and guys like him, I guess. Like he...
Yeah, exactly. We chased money and money chased him.
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't run very fast. This guy's the man. Cutting your sales cycle in half sounds pretty impossible, but that's exactly what Sandler Training did with HubSpot. They use Breeze, HubSpot's AI tools, to tailor every customer interaction without losing their personal touch. And the results were incredible. Click-through rates jumped 25%. Qualified leads quadrupled. And people spent 3 times longer on their landing pages. Go to HubSpot.com to see how Breeze can help your business grow.
Okay, I have another one for you. Can I give you another one? So we did kids' toys. I have another one. You might know the story of this one. Have you ever had one of these before?
Okay, what's this?
Oh. I'm holding up
No, it looks like, what is that, bubblegum?
a box of Tony's Chocolonely.
Hell yeah, brother. I love Tony's Chocolonely. Do they have some that have Pop Rocks in them?
By the way, I've been saying it wrong for a long time. It's not Tony's Chocolonely. It's Tony's Chocolonely. Do you know that?
I just call it Tony's. I love Tony's. I have always bought them, and then when we hung out with Mr. Beast, he told us the backstory. I didn't realize how amazing they were. I love Tony's.
Yeah. Their backstory is even better than I thought. Because when we were hanging out with Jimmy, he was like, "Oh yeah, he for Feastables really wanted to get Feastables to have a supply chain that had no child labor." He's like, most of the cocoa farms in Africa have child labor. All the big chocolate brands, Hershey's, etc., they all buy from them. When I learned that was effed up, I went over there and we've basically been spending, a couple of years now trying to fix the supply chain so that doesn't have to be the case.
He was like, every company, I don't like this or that thing about them, but there's one company that I really admire that seems to be doing something well. And I think that's how he phrased it. And he said, Tony's is the one. They do things right, is basically what he said.
Exactly. And he actually called the founders of this and learned from them of like, okay, what do I need to do? Which is cool because they were the ones who initially made the push. But do you know the backstory of why they made the push into doing this?
Wasn't it started by an actor or a famous person in Holland or something like that?
A journalist.
A journalist. Okay. It was like a non-business person who started it. And they started it with, it's one of these cool stories where they didn't so much care about chocolate. They cared about helping the earth or human rights or something. And we're just so happened to be doing it via chocolate. It was some story like that, wasn't it?
So the story is I think there was 2 Dutch journalists, but these 2 Dutch journalists, they're covering the chocolate industry on their TV show. And they hear about, that the chocolate companies are all the cocoa comes from West Africa, and that there's a lot of slavery and child labor. So 2 separate things, right? Slavery and then child labor happening on the farms there. So they want to go and investigate. So they go down there, they investigate, they find that it's true, and they put out a story to try to help. And I think the exact story is that at one point, all the big chocolate companies signed a treaty. They signed a pact to say, we're going to stop this. And I guess years later, they had gone back, they had gone to investigate, and it was the exact same situation. They saw that nothing had really changed. And so these guys are pretty disheartened by it. So they decide, this is where the story gets crazy, because a normal person, even a great journalist, would just report the story, maybe use some choice language when they talk about it, and then they would shake their finger at them and move on. But these journalists went and did took the exit off of High Agency Avenue and were like, no, watch this. And so the guys, they come back and they decide to do a publicity stunt. So he eats the chocolate and he calls the police. And the police come and they're like, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm eating chocolate that was made with slave labor and child labor. And they're like, that's what? That's not you're eating chocolate. That's not a crime. He goes, no. Actually, according to statute, blah, 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 knowingly consuming this product, knowing what I know, that this is the product of child labor and slave labor, that's actually illegal. Arrest me, boys. And so they lock him up. They take him to jail. And that becomes this viral sort of news stunt that brings even more attention to this. Now, prosecutors end up dismissing the case because they're like, we're not going to prosecute this. But they decide to go in and create their own ethically made chocolate brand. And they decide to call it Tony's Chocolonely because they're like, the guy's name is Toon, but that's his Dutch name, but the like Americanized, westernized version of Tone, I guess is his name, would be Tony. So they goes Tony's, and and he said it's going to be very lonely to build a chocolate company that's actually trying to be like ethically sourced. So we called it Tony's Chocolonely. Okay,
great.
And that's how they felt in their fight against the cocoa, industry. And it becomes a hit pretty much right away. They sell 20,000 bars in 2 days because of the public like resonance with their story. And it becomes the best-selling chocolate brand in their market, which is the Netherlands. They get like 20% share in the Netherlands. It passes up Mars and Nestle and other competitors there. And then they start expanding, and they keep expanding, and then they start finding like-minded brands. So they're, I don't know if you know about Ben & Jerry's, but Ben & Jerry's is also one of these like very sort of like strong, ethical, moral,
opinion-driven. They stick to what they want to do.
Good people corporations. Yeah. I actually saw Ben or Jerry, I forgot which one, talk at an event I was at like 15 years ago, and I remember being pretty blown away by the like how genuine it was for them and how the extent that they had gone. Right. So, for example, I don't know if you know, it's like. They have this one flavor that's like their brownie flavor. I forgot it. Like, I'm so fucking fit now. I can't even remember the name, dude. It's insane. It's chocolate fudge brownie. It's not something fat people eat. So that's so my past. I just can't even remember.
You're like I barely remember how that felt last week.
By the way, meanwhile, I'm holding up this Tony Chocolonely. 3 bars are missing from this pack. Blame it on the kids.
Dude, my wife gets pissed off at me because whenever we bring like a treat to like a friend's house, we bring dessert, they cook dinner, and like it's like already open. And she's like, what the hell? You can't like give like a pack of ice cream when there's like one. I'm like, why not? We're gonna open it anyway, like half an hour. Why can't I open it now? That's sort of what happened.
Exactly.
She always compares me to like a bear looking in the cabinets for honey, and I get my fingers
my brother-in-law
stuck in the jar.
is like this. My brother-in-law Aaron, he's one of these people that like doesn't eat a ton in general. Like he's not a big foodie.
Yeah.
But if you leave like a snack, he's like a bear. Like if you leave a treat in their house, it's gone by the morning, and you're like, did you wake up? And so like he'll eat the whole bag, right, of anything. Yeah. And so my sister calls it like with Oreos, like we got a pack of Oreos, right? And she's like, oh my God, Aaron's doing a line right now. And I was like, what? And doing a line to her meant you eat the entire row of Oreos, like he did a whole line. And I just thought that was so funny.
Aaron likes to party.
Exactly. We got to have him back on. Brother Aaron, the OGs, the real OGs now. He had 2 guest cameo experiences like way back in the first 30 episodes. It was hilarious. Anyways, chocolate company. So Tony's Chocolonely, what did they do? Or Ben & Jerry's, to finish the Ben & Jerry's thing, they opened up a factory, I think somewhere like in upstate New York or something like this. And it was after they met, what's it called when you get out of jail and like you're in the program, but you like don't want to go recidivism. Like they wanted to reduce recidivism, like people who go back, end up back in jail.
Which is traditionally incredibly high.
It's really high. And one of the big drivers of why do people who after a long sentence get out and go back, it's not because they're like kind of morally corrupt at their core. It's like they couldn't get a job, and then they didn't have any money, and they didn't have a social life. And
previous friends were losers, or they left prison without knowing anyone, but only had $50.
Exactly. And so a big one way to decrease recidivism is that if people can get a job, but nobody wants to give them jobs. So they created a whole factory. Their brownie factory is all brownies made by ex-cons, basically. The Ben & Jerry's flavor. They like wanted to They met some guys who had a good recipe, and they like built a factory around them essentially. So they're do-gooders. So Tony Chocolonely, to break into the U.S., starts partnering with Ben and Jerry's, and the revenue has just grown and grown and grown. And so like last year, I think they did $200 million in revenue, and they made this like a legit chocolate company that started with two journalists just basically trying to make a stand against the man. How cool is that?
This is awesome. This is so cool. Do they run the company now?
No, so they're out now. There's like a CEO. They like, it's just kind of run by like, normal suits basically at this point. And they get some flack because like their supply chain is still not perfect, but they're very transparent about it. So the crazy thing is like they'll report that they had like 11 issues this year of like child labor discovered in their supply chain, and people are like, "See, you're not totally free," and they're like, "What? We're trying to be transparent and say, we're way less than anybody else. We're also honest about this, and we're reporting it so that we can keep improving this." But they get some flack as like, I guess like skeptics say that maybe they're just greenwashing at this point now, since the founders left. And even I think the founder has sort of alluded to like, it's not the same since we left. I don't know the exact story. It's like, I'm trying to read these like Dutch translations of articles and decided that like, I'd rather just eat the chocolate and chill. So I'm not sure the exact story, but I think there's maybe a little controversy around that.
Yeah, I've known about this brand for a while, and I didn't know I only knew what Jimmy had said, which wasn't in this depth, but it makes me like them way more. The product's awesome. I mean, I love the brand. They also, and I eat the shit out of them. I mean, it messes me up, but that's cool.
Maybe you could be the influencer that blows them up even more. Sam Parr, I eat the shit out of them.
Yeah. It's just like most of my like guilty evenings start with a bar of Tony's. And the problem with
end. A jar of honey.
Let's not even. How much time we got? The issue is they would sell their candy like it used to come in like the extra king size. Bar. It was like a huge bar. They only sell in bulk. By the way, did I ever tell you about the time we were talking about recidivism? This is not entirely related to business, but I think you'll get a kick out of this. Did I tell you about the time? Do you know that I've been to I think we've talked about this. I've been to San Quentin a few times in Indiana State Prison.
So you've mentioned that you did, but I don't know the exact story. What's the story?
I have to tell you the background of this. So I've gone to, I have a friend who this is the story. It's going to be about him. But I've been to Indiana State Prison a couple times, or once. I went to San Quentin a few times. One time we went to Indiana State Prison. So we go because my friend has this charity called The Last Mile. And the idea is like, when you commit a crime, particularly murder, you're not always sentenced to life. You're inevitably going to get out. And it's better for that person if they get out and have a job. It's better for society if they get out and get a job. And it's better for the taxpayer if they get out and get a job, because you don't want them to go back to prison, because that's bad for everyone. And so we are all incentivized, it's totally bipartisan, to get this person to be trained and to get a job. And so this company, The Last Mile, started by my friend Chris, they help you learn. I think when I went, they were learning WordPress. I don't know what they learn now, but this was a while ago. They were learning WordPress, or they were learning like some front-end development, so you can get a job at like an eBay or like
There's
a huge
vibe coding now.
Yeah, I don't know what they do now. Yeah, they have like some like weird like hot or not apps.
They're just minting NFTs.
Yeah, I don't know what these guys are doing, but my friend Chris started it, and he was a prominent venture capitalist. He helped. He was the first investor in Wish. He was an early investor in Snap. He did Boom. He did all these other like cool startups. And for some reason, one day he went and volunteered at San Quentin at a prison. And he was like, I think this is my life's mission to like help reduce recidivism, meaning when you get out of prison and you don't go back. And so he created this thing called The Last Mile. They now have hundreds of employees. They've had thousands of people who have gone through their program. And I up until recently, he told me this stat a couple years ago, so I don't want to like jinx him, and I don't know the update. But of the 1,000 or 2,000 people who graduated, not one had ever been back to prison, and that's like a huge thing. And so it's really interesting that this tech person has he quit, so he doesn't invest anymore. This is all he does. And I talked to another guy, Mike Novogratz. He was on the pod 2 weeks ago. And that's his thing now, too, is reducing recidivism. So reducing the rate that you go back to prison. But I know a bunch of people who have given up their careers to go pursue this.
I'm on their website right now. Pretty crazy stats. So it says, since the 70s, the prison population in the U.S. has increased by 700%. which is not what you would expect. That's not just like, oh, that makes sense. It should grow every year. It's like, no, the prison population should not necessarily grow at that rate. It says that every person in prison has an annual cost to the American taxpayer of $70,000, which means we pay about $50 billion a year is spent on state and federal prisons. Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing, right?
The last miles, participants in the last mile who go through their, I guess it's like an education program as they get out, have a 75% employment rate when they come out, which is great.
Yeah.
I wonder what I wonder what the baseline is. It's got to be half that or
well,
less.
so basically what happens, and I talked to some of these guys when they were in there, they were like, look, when I got out, I had been in for 10 or 15 years. I was a thug. Like, I didn't want to associate with my old people. And like, my family had either died or wasn't around. And they basically gave me a bus ticket and $50. And I was like, sir, where do I go? I'm not sure where I go to right now. What do I do? And so they're like, that's why I came back here, is I just started going back to how I used to behave.
By the way, why does he have this guy Chris looks awesome, Chris Redlitz. Why does he have a serious radio show? What does that get broadcasted in the prisons in some way, or like is that just an external thing?
Both. So Chris is interesting. So we had Michael Harris on the pod. Harry O is his nickname. Harry O is the founder of Death Row Records. Chris is kind of, I joke, he's an OG. He's an original gangster. So he knows all of these guys. So he's friends with Dr. Dre, Snoop, the founders of Death Row, all these cool guys. And they all have this like blend of like hip hop, but also like crime, like interests. And so he decided to have a show with Sirius where he would get some of these cool guys on the radio show, and they would talk about what his issue is. But also it was like wrapped up in like kind of cool stories, because it's kind of like hip hop and like celebrity. And so he had a show for Sirius where he would talk about it.
Dude, this guy's living the dream. Got rich, decided to do good in the world. Has a great podcast. The triple threat. I love it.
He's cool. And so I became really close with him. He invested in my company when I was a 25-year-old or 26-year-old in San Francisco. Very coincidentally, we both moved to this small town in Westport, Connecticut together. And we hang out all the time. And his wife, her name's Beverly. She's a 95-pound woman. And I've been to San Quentin. And we were walking on the yard with these guys doing like bench press and sit-ups and whatever. And I walked with this little lady through the yard, and the Red Sea parted. And she just walked through, and she's like, Tyrone, how are you? And she would go, Miss Bev, nice to see you. It was the craziest thing that I've ever seen. It was like, I'm telling you, she like ran this prison yard. She was the only woman there. And it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And they have a joke that says, if it glow, you may go. When you walk in to San Quentin, they stamp your hand. And so when you leave, you have to show them your stamp underneath a black light in order to get out. And they would do jokes where she would wink at the guy when I'm walking in, and he didn't actually stamp me. He just pretended. And I would go to scan my hand to leave, and my hand didn't glow. And they're like, sir, you cannot leave. We have to get this figured out. And I was like, I'm not staying here. So like they would pull like tricks on you, like when you go and see this place. It was wild. But
that's amazing.
Chris and Bev are two people, when I think of how to live life, it's them. That's the way to go.
That's dope. Can I tell you a related story? So my buddy Trevor was writing a book, and he did this a very smart move, which I'd never really heard anybody else do, but I thought it was a good idea. He goes, hey man, check your email. I check my email, and there's like a plane ticket, and it's a plane ticket to go see him. And he's like, I want to write this book, and I want it to be great. And I could sit here and brainstorm this on my own, but I really want to do something that I'm calling a bookstorm. And he basically decided to fly out the 5 kind of smartest, most interesting people he knew to hang out with him for a day and just help him flesh out and brainstorm the book together. And he's like, I will owe you one for life, but I just really respect you, trust you, and I really want your help with this because I'm trying to make this great. I go, and in the room is basically my buddy Trevor, his brother, and then there's the head of like the women's volleyball, the U.S. women's volleyball team, which is like way outperformed in the Olympics and won like a bunch of gold. And there was one other person, and then there was this guy, Larry. I'm like, oh, I'm a professional brainstormer. This is literally what I do. I'm like just ready to rock and roll. But I'm just blown away by this guy, Larry. Every time this guy, Larry, opens his mouth, he says something that's super wise, super smart, on the nose, just a few words, but he's always on point. And so after about an hour of the brainstorming around the book, I was like, dude, I got to ask Larry, I missed the intro. What's your story, dude? Because you're incredible. And Larry tells the story where Larry's like, my name's Larry, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I was incarcerated for the past 22 years.
Wow.
And I think he had just gotten out. I don't know how long it had been, maybe a year or two, something like that. And he goes, from the age 18, he's now 40. He's like, at age 18, I was arrested and I was in for, 22 plus years. And I was like, Larry, no offense, but you just got out a couple years ago. How are you so smart? How do you know all this stuff? Because he would
read all day.
He would have these amazing pulls or whatever we were talking about. He would reference this thing in this book and this quote he could just recite by memory. So I'm like, Larry, how do you know all this? And he goes, I was incarcerated at age 18. They lock you up and throw away the key, right? Like you're basically like the lowest man on the totem pole for society. Nobody invests in you at that point. You're a sunk cost. And so he's like, I was, getting in trouble and it was a rough place and it was not a good time. And he's like, I made a decision. I'm no longer in prison. I'm in university. Huh. And he's like, so every day I just studied. I just decided to go to university for the past 20 years. He's like, I decided to read all the books and learn and write and better myself. And he's like, I would literally change what I saw. I would walk in the prison yard and I wouldn't see the barbed wire. He's like, I saw roses. He's like, I literally just brainwashed myself that I am not in prison. I am in university. And I carried myself like that. And I acted like that. He made the most of what was, otherwise a very bad situation. I just remember being so blown away and inspired by this guy, Larry, when I heard that story. Because I was like, if Larry can do that at a life sentence in prison, this sounds stupid, but like, then I can be bored in a line at Starbucks for an hour or whatever. Like you can change where you are. You don't have to be in the situation that it looks like you're in. Like you can literally just decide, no, I'm in university right now. No, I'm in a spa right now. No, I'm in the brainstorming session right now. I am where I want to be about that.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's really challenging because on one hand, for some reason, you feel like sad for someone, like because you meet someone like a lot of the guys I met, I think they kind of had atoned for their sins a little bit, where like they've changed, but you're like, oh, I feel so bad for you. Like that sucks. You didn't deserve this. And then you like learn about what they did, and you're like, actually, no. Like consequences exist for a reason. Like that sounds fair to me. And it creates like whenever I've done these things with these guys, I get so many mixed emotions. It's a very challenging thing. It's a very hard thing to be part of too. But it is a no-brainer, right? You want someone to not go back. So you guys know this, but I have a company called Hampton, joinhampton.com. It's a vetted community for founders and CEOs. Well, we have this member named Levon, and Levon saw a bunch of members talking about the same problem within Hampton, which is that they spent hours manually moving data into a PDF. It's tedious, it's annoying, and it's a waste of time. And so Levon, like any great entrepreneur, he built a solution, and that solution is called Molku. Molku uses AI to automatically transfer data from any document into a PDF. And so if you need to turn a supplier invoice into a customer quote or move info from an application into a contract, you just put a file into Molku and it autofills the output PDF in seconds. And a little backstory for all the tech nerds out there, Levon built the entire web app without using a line of code. He used something called Bubble.io. They've added AI tools that can generate an entire app from one prompt. It's pretty amazing, and it means you can build tools like Molku very fast without knowing how to code. And so if you're tired of copying and pasting between documents or paying people to do that for you, check out Molku.ai, MOLKU.ai. All right, back to the pod.
Did I tell you my embarrassing prison story?
No, but that sounds so awesome.
it's very embarrassing.
This could go so many ways.
So I go with this.
Were you making dad jokes at your first day in?
So I moved to Silicon Valley, and I'm working with this guy, Michael Birch. And Michael Birch is this wonderful guy. Michael's built a successful career in Silicon Valley. He's basically like a billionaire. So one day he messages me like, pack a bag with enough clothes for a day. I go 2 days. And meet me like at like whatever, like meet me at like 8 a.m. at this spot. You're not going to work today. I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going to happen. So I go and we start driving.
You had no idea where you were going?
I think he tells me on the drive that we're going to, he's a part of this group called the Inside Circle. And Inside Circle was where they take guys from the outside to go meet guys on the inside. And it was at the prison, Folsom. Was it called Folsom Prison?
Yeah, Folsom.
And so we go drive there. It's a maximum security prison, and I'm basically just a huge wuss, right? So I don't know what I'm getting into. I didn't actually sign up for this. Michael's just kind of like, trust me, you'll like this. This is good. You should do this. I still don't really understand what we're doing. I think it's like like Dare, where they like scare you. They like take you in. They're like
scare straight. Like you're
yeah,
like,
I thought it was scare straight.
Are you gonna
I thought we were just going to
discipline me?
observe from like behind this like really thick glass. I'm like, oh, cool. We're going to like watch, and I'm going to be like, wow, I learned so much today from observing.
Tapping on the glass.
And then they open the door, and they're like, all right, guys, come on in. And I'm like, what? And so we go in, and they're like, all right, pick a buddy, pick a partner. And so I'm like, and I like pick this guy, and the program starts. It's like a men's group. So you sit in a circle, you talk about your feelings. Oh, and by the way, when I walk in, immediately my eyes are drawn to one person because it was so obvious to me, like this was the hardest guy in the prison. Somehow this guy had sunglasses, and I don't know why he was allowed to have sunglasses. He had a cane, which I thought like you're not allowed to have something that could be like a weapon. But he's got a cane and he's got sunglasses, but he's not blind, by the way.
What?
He has the sunglasses like up on his head sometimes.
White guy or black guy?
Black guy. And he had like an entourage. Like he had like two guys with him who were really big and like, but they deferred to him, and he was kind of older. And I was just like, I don't know who this guy is, but I've seen enough shows
Was he a
and movies
somebody?
to know that this guy is somebody here. And maybe somebody on the outside, I don't know, but he's somebody in here. Anyway, so he's in my group, and his two like entourage guys. So we get in the circle, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I giving advice? Is this a mentorship test? What is this? And it's like, no, you're here to talk about, this is a safe space, unpack your feelings. I'm like, oh God. And so first guy starts, and he starts talking about how he's feeling pissed off. He's feeling pissed off because crazy story, but like he's locked up in here, and his sister outside is she's being abused by her boyfriend. He just wants to kill this guy, but he's on the inside. He can't get to this guy. He feels powerless. And he's sharing this heavy, emotional, real life problem. Yeah. Like a grade A real life problem. And I of course, because I'm horrible, I stopped listening. I'm just like panicked, thinking of what am I going to say? You know, when you're like supposed to be listening, but you just actually just planning what you're supposed to say. I start doing that because I'm like,
are you gonna like retell a fake movie so you sound hard? Like
yeah, so I'm like my startup doesn't have product market fit. It's just really grinding my gear. Like, what the hell am I gonna say? I don't have real world problems, right? Like my life's pretty good. And we're going around the circle, and it's just one crazy like real problem after another. And then it's getting to me, and I'm just like, what am I gonna say? And so I'm like, all right, I guess I go deep in the bag. I'm like, all right, I do have, there is something that's like pretty heavy. I don't really talk about this normally, but like, I guess, thank God I have this, because this is the time and place to unpack this story. And so I start unpacking this story. And in my mind, I'm talking kind of slower and dramatically, because I'm like, let me really ham this up a little bit. Like, let me not be me and laugh during this. Let me, try to be serious here. And I think I'm doing a great job. And the guy with the glasses just midway through is like, man, I don't believe none of that shit. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, no, it's true. He goes, I know it's true. And I'm like, so what? Just to clarify, you said still, are we cool? What's going on? And he was like, man, that ain't your truth though. And so he's like, it's true, but that ain't your truth. And I'm like, what is this puzzle? What is this riddle? I don't know what this means. And then this creates this like really intense moment where I had to stand up. And he's like, they're like, all right, it's time to do the work. I'm like, what? And I had to stand up. I'm like, am I going to get beat up? And so he was right? He's like, what's your truth? And I'm like, what? I just feel, and I'm like, no, but that is a real situation that has happened to me. And they were like, no, what's your truth? And I was like, all right, the truth is I'm just trying to say what I think you guys want me to say, because I just want you to like me. And I pointed at the guy. I was like, I just want you to not hate me. And he looks at me, he just stares at me. He stands up, he gets in my face, he goes, that's your truth. And I go, yes. He gives me a big hug. And then we sat down. And then for the next hour, I was like, I don't know what the hell just happened, but I think I'm in a prison gang and this is awesome. I think I'm accepted. This felt amazing.
That's called a breakthrough.
Yeah, I had a breakthrough. So that was my embarrassing prison story.
That's great. Did you, how did it end? Did you guys like exchange information? What do you do?
Dude, Have you ever taken ecstasy? I haven't, but I assumed that's what it felt like. Because for the rest of the time, I was just like, the weight of the world was off my shoulders, and I just enjoyed myself. And I realized, like, oh, I could just be my insecure, neurotic self, and that's fine here. Okay, cool. I don't have to pretend. Great. And then they were like, cool, he ain't pretending anymore. We like this guy. Whatever you say now, we don't really care, but we just know that you're not pandering to us. And
what
like,
value do these guys get?
What a lesson learned.
What value do these guys get?
Well, I think, they live a pretty
company
hard life. No, I think it's just in general, they live a pretty hard life, and they go to this meeting every week. So they have this kind of like 2 hours a week where they get to go and kind of like, as they would say, like take the mask off, put the armor down. In fact, like it would be a mix of like the Hispanic guys, the white guys, and the black guys in this session. But then they would like openly say like, yeah, but like his friend like shanked my friend. And so it's on, but here it's not on. But as soon as we get out, it's on again. And I was like, this is like a pretty bizarre dynamic, but they all agreed like, all right, when we're here, it's whatever. But when we're out there, it is what it is. That's just the way things are. I remember being like, that's insane. But understandable in a way. So they have this as a space where they can like deload kind of emotionally, mentally, which is important, and feel like a human being and be able to like express themselves. I think it's a pretty dehumanizing feeling, right? When you're again locked up, throw away the key, and anybody who comes in, they just see you as your label, right? But like in that environment for those 3 hours that we were there, there was no status. Nobody was better than anybody else, or like, there was status, but I was worse than everybody else. I guess is probably the more accurate way of saying it. But like, they got to like be treated well and be helped and be just talked to one man to another man. At least again, these are this is like my interpretation of it. I'm sure that people who do this more have like a more sophisticated way and a better way of saying it.
By the way, now that we're talking about this, and we can wrap up, but Jack Smith, I forgot, this is his big philanthropic cause as well. So Jack Smith, if you ask him what he's doing on a regular basis, for a long time, I would say, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm pen pals with like people who are locked up, and I have a system where they can order any book and I'll get it for them.
Isn't he giving books? Isn't it a book program?
Yeah, where he created a website. I forget how he did it, but where they can order a book and he'll buy them any single book that they want.
Dude, most generic name, Jack Smith. You can't find anything when you Google for Jack Smith. Like,
yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we do this. So there's The Last Mile, which you could donate to. So go to thelastmile.org. You can donate there. There's Inside Circle Foundation, where you could donate there. So maybe do a little good. So if there's anybody who's listening to this and inspired either to start your own thing or to attend one of these or to donate, go do it, man. Because it's seen it firsthand, does a lot of good, and I think doesn't get the type of attention that it would ever want. By the way, the Inside Circle guys, they also made like a movie, a documentary about the program.
And Chris Redlitz is the guy who's kind of my mentor and someone I look up to. And you can find him on Twitter. He's super low key, but he's been the seed investor of like probably 5 to 10 different unicorns, hugely successful, and now has dedicated his life to this. So just DM him if you want to do whatever. He's pretty open-minded.
Do you think you're going to do something like this, by the way?
Yeah, I haven't found my cause for a long time.
Do you have like a career arc in mind where you're like, cool, I climb Success Mountain, and then I parachute over to like, save the world?
I told Sarah that at the age of 40, I'm going to stop the getting of money. So I said, by 40, I will no longer pursue any money, and we will have a cause, and that's what we will dedicate ourselves to. That's wow.
You've also told me that you're going to disappear off the internet. I think this is badass, and you should talk more about this.
I said at the age of 40, yeah, I want to get off the internet, and I want to not pursue any money-making things ever again. I don't want it to like ruin my perspective and just be a shallow capitalist and only care about that, and just delete the internet and just focus on like doing something good. That's the current plan. How
old are you now?
I turned 36 a month ago, so I'm 36.
4 years away, dude.
Do you think that's a crazy plan?
Of course it's a crazy plan, but it's a pretty cool plan. I think it sounds pretty cool.
I said by 40.
What's your level of seriousness about this? Is this like, that's what's happening? Or like, I'm just testing this out, seeing how these words sound in my mouth?
No, I just think that, I think if you only pursue making money, I think that you become a very shallow person. I think that there's more to life. I think that there's been so many times where I've seen something inspiring and beautiful. And in my head, I think, oh, then we could do this and turn it into this and then like optimize by doing this, as opposed to just saying, this is beautiful, this is wonderful, I want to experience, let's keep it small. And so I want to like force myself to appreciate that. One of my heroes is this guy named Felix Dennis. He wrote the book How to Get Rich. Felix Dennis was a publisher in England where he founded a bunch of companies, a bunch of publishing companies, eventually was worth $600 or $700 million. And he wrote that he was diagnosed with cancer something like at the age of 60. And then at the age of like 61, while he was like learning about his cancer or something, he got into poetry. And he was like, I'm obsessed with writing poetry. Why on earth did I not discover this sooner? And he quit business partially because he was dying and because he fell in love with poetry. And he wrote in his book that if I could do it all over again, I would have quit at the age of 40 because I had enough, and I would have pursued poetry because that was my calling. And I always found that to be amazing, because I think that oftentimes when we're doing what we're doing every single day, we get caught into the make more, do more, optimize more, when it's like, kind of, I want to be in the present and I want to enjoy the things that I want to enjoy regardless if they make money. Because how many hobbies have you had where you're like, well, I would only do it if I could like make like, oh, I want to like buy these toys and like maybe I could buy like 10 of them and turn into a money making thing. Now what you're doing is actually pretty cool. But you still have a capitalistic mindset to it. You are playing the piano and you are live streaming it, which I think is amazing. But in my head, I'm like, I want to do that too. It's like, well, I only want to do that because I want people to see me learning a hobby. Do you know what I mean? And I like, that's like tainting the thing.
Well, I only live streamed it once.
No, I'm not criticizing you. I'm criticizing, I was inspired to do it because I want glory. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, I learned pretty quickly when I started playing the piano that nobody gives a shit if you can play the piano, by the way. It's not like a thing. Like if somebody plays the piano well, it's like, oh, cool, you can play the piano well. They don't want to listen to even one song. Nobody wants to listen to somebody play a 5-minute song on the piano. That's a very like clear thing to me since learning to play piano, but it doesn't matter because playing a 5-minute song is incredibly fun. In fact, I sent Ben a text message. I'm going to read you this text message because I think it's very relevant to what we're talking about. So Pomp did a SPAC recently. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw it, but I don't entirely know what that means. But yeah.
So our friend Pomp, Anthony, they SPAC'd a company. And the company's goal was to do the kind of Michael Saylor playbook, which is it's a Bitcoin acquisition and finance company. And so what they're doing is they raised, I think, $750 million. They SPAC'd it. It's now public, it's going to be a public company. And they basically bought $750 million worth of Bitcoin. Then they're going to raise debt and buy more Bitcoin. And they're going to
because companies or pension funds can own Pomp stock, but they can't own Bitcoin. So this is how they get exposure to it. Is that right?
That's one aspect to it. There's others, which is like it's levered. So like, you could, for every dollar you put in, let's say you buy Bitcoin directly, you could buy $1 of Bitcoin, but like their thing they're going to borrow and buy more than $1 of Bitcoin for every dollar of equity, for example. They also want to eventually turn it into like a full financial services thing. So essentially like a Bitcoin-backed bank. I think that's like part of the vision. Anyways, I don't know exactly what they're doing. There's, they're only allowed to say certain things. But point is, it's like Pomp, this guy who's very much like us. I think he's the same age. Similarly,
I hang out with Anthony all the time.
Creator on the internet, good dude, and he's not like some uber genius that's like, but he's like relatable. That's what I'm saying. So he's like one of us. And it's clear that this didn't just happen. He's been working on this for some period of time, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. You don't know. So it's like, oh wow, Pomp raised $750 million, has this public company now. I think he owns 8% of it. I saw from the filing. So like theoretically, Pomp has like $80 million of value from this, right? Some creators make courses. Pomp's going to make like probably hundreds of millions of dollars from this thing if it goes well. Okay. And that's clearly what he put a lot of energy and focus on and did a great job fundraising for. And I was texting Ben. I was like, wow, that's incredible. I was like, meanwhile, I've logged 120 hours on the piano in the last 6 months. And I go, honestly, no regrets though. Fucking love the piano.
Dude, so listen, you tweeted out, you said, I used to think jealousy was a bad thing, like a sin, and I try to avoid it. But jealousy is a wedding crasher. It shows up uninvited. And recently I started using jealousy to my advantage. Jealousy is an incredible signal. It tells me at a very primal, no logic level what my subconscious wants. It's a heat signal for taste. I don't obey the signal, but I do observe it, and it helps me now. And so this sounds very strange, but when I saw what Pomp was doing, I was like, that's so badass. Congrats to him. But then very weirdly, when I saw you streaming, you played the piano, for some reason, I thought that was oddly one of the cooler things you've done in the last year or two. And I felt stronger. And I'm like, well, why do I feel that? Why do I think that that is cooler? I don't know why exactly, but it relates to that tweet where I'm like, what's the signal there that that's sending? So anyway, I thought that was really cool. I thought that was significantly cooler. And I said this as well, when you were contemplating making a play or starting a business or something like that, it's like, I don't know, for some reason the play is so much cooler. So I think I would pursue those like artistic things over the money thing. And this sounds like a very trite, like not everyone has the privilege to be able to do that. But I do think that like it's better for your soul that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could already, hear the comments. Oh, it must be nice for you. You don't have to work. Another version of it is tech bros discover hobbies. There's more to life than money. But also, by the way, both true. Yeah, both very valid points of view. I don't think it's the important point of view, but I do think they're valid points of view. I think the important point of view is like try to figure out what you actually want to do and then pursue it like in a relentless sort of unashamed way. And I think it's very cool. When you said that thing, I think you told me, you're like, in 5-7 years, I plan to delete my social media, disappear from the internet. And now you're talking about like, stop pursuing the getting of money.
Yeah.
I really hope you stick to that. I don't know if you will, because I think it's a very hard thing to do. It's like, hey, can you turn down? Like, it's like being like, I no longer eat sugar, right? It's like those people who like, are like, I'm going to stop, I'm going to diet, right? It's hard to stick to a diet. But if you actually did that, you would like shoot up in the rankings of like most badass people I know. You know what I mean? You're already top 10, but you would shoot up.
I've got 4 years to go. I better get all of it while I can. But I do think that it's also,
give me a percentage. How certain are you're going to do that at the age of 40? I just need to know. I'm going to hold you to this.
60 to 70%. I mean, look, I feel this, a lot of it has to do with family too. Like I feel, like when my little kids start like talking and having personalities, I think I would fall in love with them even more. And I just want to like be a good example that there's more to life than just the getting of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally washed. When the kids are so cute, I'm just washed up now. I can't do anything, dude. I'm
like the more personality she shows, the more where I'm like, oh, nothing really matters except our health and being around each other.
Right.
I don't know. Does that stay linear? Like, or does it does it keep getting higher the more they talk to you?
Yeah, it is. But I think, at least for me, like there is a cap. It's not one of these unbounded things. It's not like I want to spend every waking moment with you. I'm like,
sure.
No, you got like, you're too annoying. I'm too tired. This is too much. But it does. I do have like it became my favorite thing for like 3 hours a day. Like for 3 hours a day, my kids are my favorite thing in the world. That's 3 hours a day. That my favorite thing used to be working. It used to be, reading. There was other things that were in that spot of like that 3 hours a day of like voluntary time I could direct towards anything. And now my kids are that, right? Like we just like jumping into the pool with them and doing stuff or playing a game or whatever. That's like, it is super, super fun. But it is capped at like a 3 to 4 hours a day. Beyond that, I'm like, how dare my wife make me raise my own children? This is too much. I need to be helped and saved. Who's here to save me?
This is the softest episode we've ever had.
All right, we should get off before we start crying.
All right, that's it. That's the pod.
I feel like I can rule the world. I know I could be what I want to. I put my all in it like no days off. On the road, let's travel, never looking back.
All right, my friends, I have a new podcast for you guys to check out. It's called Content is Profit, and it's hosted by Luis and Fonzie Cameo. After years of building content teams and frameworks for companies like Red Bull and Orange Theory Fitness, Luis and Fonzie are on a mission to bridge the gap between content and revenue. In each episode, you're going to hear from top entrepreneurs and creators, and you're going to hear them share their secrets and strategies to turn their content into profit. So you can check out Content is Profit wherever you get your podcasts.